ladies and gentlemen. Today, we're going to talk about construction jobs in the Philippines and this loaded, and when I say loaded to the brim, prophylactic that keeps telling people that I'm digging holes. And eventually I'll either dig a hole down to China or I'll have a big swimming pool on my property. We're going to talk about that fella for a little bit. But basically, we're going to talk about how construction is done in the Philippines. And that as an American or a foreigner in the Philippines, no matter what your construction insights or knowledge encompasses, the people in the Philippines, they're just not going to listen to instructions from you unless it's specifically written into the contract, as I did on my contract. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my home page and check to make sure this live stream is live, and then check to make sure that people are able to make comments. And then I'm going to go over about 50 notes on what I have witnessed, 50 notes, and experienced here in the Philippines. So Warren is here, so we know that the live stream is working. Welcome to the machine, Warren. Okay, thank you for that. All right, so let's start with my notes. I have 5 pages of notes, single-spaced actually, and I just made notes on the notes. So let's talk about something that Warren and I were just talking about in regards to a time study that is typically done in different fields of endeavors. And a time study is when 2 men watch 1 man work. And if there are 2 men working, there are 4 men watching 1 man work. 1 man is standing there with a stopwatch, clicking the stopwatch, and the other man is taking notes down as to what the allotted time inferred to. So when I worked for Fairchild Industries building the A10As, I had a time study done with me and a fellow named Tommy Jaskowski, who was my partner. And we were doing sheet metal work on the time study, but I also installed the bladders inside the bulletproof tanks of the A10A Warthog. And I also installed the bathtub, the 1-inch titanium bathtub that the men worked, that the pilots sat in, that would take a 30 millimeter shell, direct hit, and still protect them from the damage from the shell. So they have 2 men watching 1 man. So there were 4 men watching 2 men, and 1 man stands there with a stopwatch and times you. So if you bend over to pick up a rivet set, this is called a rivet set. If you bend over to pick up a rivet set, they will say that it took you 15 seconds or 45 seconds to get the rivet set. So 1 man clicks the stopwatch, 1 man says, retrieve the rivet set. Then you put a rivet in the hole, and the guy would click the stopwatch, and he would check, and the other man would puts rivet in hole. Then the first thing you would do is you would put this rivet set. This is actually flattens out the back of the rivet. You can see it's on a little bit of an angle, and you'd put this next to the rivet like this, and then Tommy usually worked outside. He was a very big man, and I worked inside the hull or the fuselage. And he'd give the rivet, bing, bing, bing on the rivet gun, tap it 2 or 3 times, and that would set the rivet and bring the 2 pieces of sheet metal together, because this would be backing it. Then I would put this on the rivet like this, and he'd give it. We knew how many shots the rivet would take to flatten it out. And then Tommy would give it blah, 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 like that, and I would either tap the metal hull twice, boom, boom, which means it's done, or once, and he'd have to give it, he would know to give it 2 or 3 more shots, because Tommy and I were good. We were the best. In fact, we got fired. We were so good. And we got fired with no chance of getting rehired, because our average time study scores were 135% for the 30-day time study, when the average man that was in the industry for 20 years was averaging 60 to 75% efficiency. Tommy and I, who had just only been on the job for like 5 months, we averaged 135%, and we were not pushing the issue. We were not working hard. And our boss, my foreman, Al, came over a couple of times and said, you guys are going to get fired when this time study is done. You are making everybody look bad. And me and Tommy looked at each other and said, we don't care. So that's a time study. So let me tell you about, if there was a time study done in the Philippines, everybody would get fired. Nobody here in the Philippines would have any ability to keep a job even for a week. Hello, John Boone Bean. Welcome to the machine. Yes, Warren H. I love the sound of the water. I actually installed the first Gatling gun in the Warthog with a team of men. We were all observing the installation of the gun, and we all got to watch it being installed on the first ship that was built at the A-10A Industries on Fairchild Industries in Farmingdale, New York. So that was an amazing thing. We actually watched that plane take off from the runway, also behind the building. When I say building, the building was a quarter of a mile square. Okay. I saw that, Mrs. Heminger. But we're not talking about that particular fella at this time. You're welcome to make the comments, but they're going to probably get hidden because of the words you use. Try to use different words. Michael Shannon, Pink Floyd. Try not to change the subject, or we will have to change your ability to comment. So let's welcome to the machine, Michael Shannon. So let's talk about some of the things that they do here in the Philippines that would get any American on any union job, because I also hold a union card, any union job fired. So the big thing that would get you fired is to go to the CR, or the bathroom, too many times. And the men in the Philippines have a tendency to go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times before lunch. And it takes, and now I've watched this because I actually have been hired or watched work being done on buildings as a consultant to some small degree. And I was there partially because I watched a few different contractors do jobs to see if I wanted to hire them and give them the option to even bid on the plans for my hotel. So I'll talk about that. The plans are now in the hands of a person who I deem competent, and we'll talk about more of that later. So one of the things that would get these fellas fired is they go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times before lunch, and that's just unacceptable. And when I say go to the bathroom, the CR, they take 10 or 15 minutes. They disappear basically for 10 or 15 minutes. Another thing that the people here do is they like to smoke a cigarette, but they don't do the work when they're smoking the cigarette. They actually stand to the side in a corner or up against the wall, and they smoke a cigarette and that takes 6 minutes to 7 minutes. And then they put the cigarette out, and then they make sure the cigarette is out, and then they go back to work. So each time they smoke a cigarette, they're losing 10% of an hour's wages or an hour's work time. Now, one of the most egregious things, you're not going to believe this. Daisy and I were on a job a few months back in June, and we were servicing something, and I didn't say anything to Daisy. She figured this out on her own. So the property was 200 feet deep. I'll read the comments as I go along. I'll tell you the story. The property was 200 feet deep. Okay, thank you, Michael Shannon. The property was 200 feet deep, and the barracks for the men, what they call the bunkhouse, was right at the entrance from the street. Hello, welcome to the machine, John Escape. Welcome to the machine, Dennis Adam. And the barracks were to the left as you walked onto the property, and that's where the men slept. And then to the right, as you walked on the property, right at the street, right at the gate, was a tent set up where they had a little cooking area, and they had a bottle of water. Hello, John Escape. And they had a bottle of water in case anybody wanted something to drink. Then as you move back through the property, which was all grass, and you can see that in my video, one of my recent job construction videos, they walk 135 feet to the beginning of the small hotel that's being built. At that point, the hotel's about 20 feet deep, and then there's another 15 feet of construction materials and people behind the hotel. So when someone wanted a glass of water, and I'm being serious about this. I'm really serious about this. When someone wanted even a glass of water, they would stop doing what they were doing, and they would walk from the back of the property 135 feet to the water jug. They'd pick up the glass, they'd get a glass of water, maybe they'd get 2 glasses of water, then they'd put the glass down. It's a communal glass. People here in the Philippines, they don't have their own cup or anything like that. And then they'd walk back to the job site. And this would take between 4 minutes and 7 or 8 minutes each time a man walked 135 feet. So I was directly associated with the owner of the property. And he had called me in to consult him on some things, but he was not the contractor. So Mai was on the job site, and Daisy was on the job site with me. I think it's called Hot Filipino Women Operating Heavy Equipment. This is the job site that this is on. And Mai didn't say a word about these fellows walking back and forth. And Daisy said to me, "Would you let that happen on your job?" And I said, "No." But I knew what she was talking about. She actually noticed. Now I didn't prompt her on this. She actually noticed that the men were taking 4 to 7 minutes to go get a glass of water. So when she said that, Mai was within earshot, and I said to Mai, "Why don't you tell the men to put that bottle of water inside the first floor of the building that they're building?" And he said, "Well, I already talked to them about that, but they're not going to do it." And I said, "But it's your job. You're in charge. You're the one building the hotel. It's your property. You're paying the contractor." He said, "I know, but they're not going to do it." So I said, "Okay." So this is the point I'm making at this time, is that no matter what you explain to the Filipino men here in the Philippines, they're not going to listen to you because you're only a foreigner, or you're only the person paying their payroll, and they don't care what you think. They never cared what you think, and they're never going to care what you think. All right, so at that point, I would have personally moved the water bottle if it was my job, and I wouldn't have given them the option to take a choice as to whether or not they want to walk. They would have a water bottle in the front and the back, or the water bottle would move with the cup. But I told Mai on the same day, "This is costing you a fortune in labor." He said, "I'm not paying the men directly. I'm the owner of the property. The contractor is paying the men. And I said to and I was right, I said to the following words. I said, this fellow's going to run out of money, and he's going to be asking you for more money before his quota of work is done. And he said, well, I won't give it to him. I said, well, this is what's going to happen. He's going to tell you that he's not able to finish the job. There is no way on earth you have a November 1st deadline to have the hotel done. Number one, there's no way the hotel is going to get done at this rate until mid-February, early March. And he said, well, I'm going to have to live with it. So that night, we went home. Daisy and I went home. And a few weeks later, Daisy went to Mindanao. And Maya and I went out for dinner. And he said to me, you were right, Michael. The contractor who has a rate of when 40% of the job is done, which he got paid 40% of the job up front to start the job. When 40% of it's done, that leaves 60%. At that point, the contractor was supposed to get an additional 30%, half of the 60 remaining percent. But the job was only, at best, 30% done. And the contractor asked for a 30% of the monies to get the job finished, explaining that he was running out of money, which anybody could have seen happening. I don't know where that went. I never followed up on the conversation, but they worked something out. And the job will be done in February or March at best. So Mai has, in that building, 15 beds that he's losing 600 pesos a day on from his selected time to finish on November 1st. He's going to miss the entire season, and for 90 days, he's going to be missing, say, 15 times 60, or 9,000 pesos a day, because the men take the breaks for the water and the cigarettes. But that's just one small part of the problem with working for men in the Philippines. So let me go on to my next note here. I told you I was going to talk to that prophylactic that's filled to the top, talk about the prophylactic that's filled to the top, about me digging holes in the Philippines and that the hotel will never get done. Well, let me just speak briefly on that subject. First of all, thank God I don't work for a prophylactic that's brimming over, flowing over. I don't work on his time schedule or anyone else's, and the time schedule is not off by any means. There is, in my mind, I know what the time schedule was going to be, and so far as I know, the time schedule is still in place. So I don't take orders from a prophylactic that's filled to the top, brimming over the top. I don't take orders. I don't take suggestions. And I don't care about a prophylactic that's filled to the brim telling people that I should be doing this or I should be doing that or I will never get the hotel finished. It doesn't affect my life one way or the other. The fact that he does that, I find interesting, because who is he to decide what my time schedule and or money schedule is? My money schedule is right where it's supposed to be. Okay, so we're done with the prophylactic that's brimming over. Let him go cry about his problems, because if anybody is digging a hole, as the prophylactic says, I'm digging a hole that I'll never finish. If anybody dug a hole for himself to be in, it's the prophylactic brimming over the top. And we have to sing, because I see behind my words, Go Go Bobo comes in with a big donation. Salamat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Go Go Bobo's sister. Salamat. from Michael Fazio and Daisy May, baby, in the Philippines. So moving past the loaded prophylactic, that sounds dangerous almost. So he has dug a hole. If anybody dug a hole in the Philippines, it's him. He's in that hole, and there's no way out, by the way. So let's move on to the next topic. The first man on the job when they get hired here in the Philippines believes for some reason he should be the foreman. Now, I watched this up close and personal when I was in my first apartment in Alona Beach, which was right on the ocean. The first man was the neighborhood tough guy, and he was not a foreman, he was not an engineer, he's not a schooled individual, but he could physically do the work of three normal men, or two hardworking men. Oh, I think I see something I have to address. $2 minus $1.31 equals 69 cents. That's right, less than 30% from YouTube. And what about the time it takes you to move the money over into your bank account? That's a good one. Yeah, 69 cents. We won't. I saw him crying about that $50 donation. He's not going to give that back. So let's go on to the next. No, you know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. Why would I guess that's a good topic. To get off the topic, why would Pennsylvania Trucker allow someone to have his personal information when knowing that the fellow will probably dox him eventually anyway? And I heard that there are complaints that Pennsylvania Trucker caused all this aggravation because he gave the money to in the wrong venue. I got to tell you, if I was Pennsylvania Trucker, I would not give him my personal information. That's what he does. He finds out. Ask Warren H. Warren H. is here. Ask Warren H. what that fella did when Warren gave him his personal information. Ask him. Go on the comment section and ask Warren if he didn't dox him. He doxed Warren's signature. He doxed Warren's email address and the full spelling of his name and several other items. So Pennsylvania Trucker, if you get to watch this, I'm sure you're a lot smarter than that. Just let that $50 go to the wayside, because no one is worth, if you have a family, if you have children or spouse or something involved with your address, which he's asking for, your driver's license is what he wanted, basically whatever ID that you're going to use. He can find out where you live, and he will dox you because he is mad at you because you put the money in the wrong place, supposedly. Meanwhile, he just should have moved that money a long time ago and stopped this crying, because that's another hole that he's dug for himself now. And he may, in fact, be penalized for that in a way that he doesn't even begin to understand at this point. Okay, so the toughest guy is somehow the boss on the job, or believes himself to be the foreman. And I have watched foremen bow to the wishes of the toughest guy on the job. And he's the hardest working man on the job, but that guy will disappear on the side of a building and smoke a cigarette for 20 minutes. And I watched this happen because I was living in an apartment on the job site, and I would watch him disappear to the side of the building that I could see from my window, and he would disappear, and no one would say a word. Number one, he was a tough guy. No doubt about this guy was freaking tough. Strong, unbelievably strong, and a fighter, a regular professional fighter in his early days. So no one would mess with that particular man. All right, so that's not fair to the foreman, and the foreman should be in charge of the job, but there is no actual foreman on a construction job in the Philippines. The foremans make more of a request to do the work than they give orders, because Filipinos don't take orders. The average Filipino worker does not take orders from the average foreman. So the foreman will say something like, and I'm going to give you an example, it's a true example. The foreman will have, okay, I run my jobs differently. I run my jobs like everything is in its place and everything needs to be together. So if you have metal 2x4s that are 16 feet long, they are in one pile. And then 12 footers, 10 footers, 8 footers, like that. They come in bundles of 10, banded. So on this particular job site, the bundles were dropped off at the gate. Instead of the men bringing a bundle or all the material to the back of the property where the material could be sorted out and brought up to the second floor via a rope, instead of them bringing the bundle to the back of the property, which is 75 feet from where the bundles were to where it's called a wagon wheel. It's a pulley on an A-frame extending off the side of the building. Instead of them doing that, they'd leave the bundles up at the front of the property, cut the bands, and when they needed 3 metal 2x4s 16 feet long, one man would go down to the first ground floor and grab 1 2x4 that weighs about 2.5 kilos, and walk it to the back of the property. Now, I said they need 3 on the second floor or third floor. They need 3. He would then put the 2x4, 16-foot 2x4 on the ground, and then he would walk back to the front of the property and grab 1 more, but not in any hurry. And he would do that for the third 2x4 as well. Then he would bend down and punch a hole through the 2x4 with a nail, and then put a hook from the rope to the 2x4, and then haul up the 2x4 to the third floor. Now, the man on the third floor, you can't see where he is. You're just looking up at a wall and at the top of the A-frame. He may be 5 feet out of sight, and he might be on the other side of the building. So when they haul the 2x4 up to the top of the building, at that point, the fella on the bottom that's working the rope on the wagon wheel should yell out, "Hey, somebody come and get this 2x4, but they won't do that. They won't do that. He will just hold the rope with the 2x4 dangling, metal 2x4, dangling at the top of the wagon wheel. Now, if the man that's on the top is 5 feet away and you can't see him, he might just be taking a break because he's been waiting for that 2x4 for about 12 or 15 minutes. Eventually, the fella on the top of the building will walk over to the wagon wheel and take the hook out of the top of the metal 2x4 and drag the 2x4 onto the third floor platform. But when he gets it on the floor, he'll walk back to the wagon wheel. Instead of having a little rock or weight that can go down and drag the rope down, he'll pull the rope through the wagon wheel and curl it up in his hand, and then he'll drop it down as a bundle of rope. Now, will the man on the third floor walk the 2x4 over to where it's needed? No, he will not. They need 3. So the fella on the bottom will then, all this time while the man upstairs is taking the rope and curling it up, the man on the bottom could have been putting a hole in the top of the metal 2x4, but they don't do that. When the rope hits the ground, then the man on the bottom will take his nail and his hammer and make a hole through the second 2x4 and then hook that up. Then he'll bring it back up to the third floor, and at that time the guy is still standing there. Instead of bringing the first 2x4 to where it's needed, he'll bring the second 2x4 up. Meanwhile, the men that needed the 2x4 are doing nothing. They're waiting for the 2x4. So you might have two men waiting, and you got two men bringing up one 2x4 at a time. And that will go on for about 35 minutes to bring up three 2x4s. And then when the third 2x4 is up to the top, he'll throw the rope down again, and he'll grab the first 2x4 and bring it over to where the men are waiting for the 2x4. The men that are waiting will not come and retrieve the 2x4. How do you get anything done? Now, these men were getting paid at that time, 6 years ago. These men were getting paid 300 pesos per day, which was $6. Granted, it's not a lot of money, but that's what they were getting paid. But they were not getting paid for 600 pesos worth of work. They were, in fact, getting paid 3 or 4 times that salary for the amount of work that the average person would do. So basically, they were getting somewhere between 900 and 1,000 pesos a day to do 300 pesos worth of work if you had a good man that kept working. This is how it is here in the Philippines. And if anybody came on that job, including myself, and tried to give them advice like how to make a timber hitch on the metal 2x4 so that you didn't have to put a nail hole through it, nope, they won't put a timber hitch on the thing. Now, somebody will say, well, maybe the 2x4 will slip out of the timber hitch. No, it will not. You could put oil on that 2x4, oil it up really good, some nice greasy oil, and put a timber hitch 4 foot down from the top, and put 6 more half hitches on top of the timber hitch, and that ain't sliding out. And then there is no oil on those 2x4s, so six half hitches on a timber hitch will get any piece of material up to the third floor. That is so right away you're paying people 3 and 4 times their initial salary, and you're not getting any work done. Good morning, Princess Anud. Welcome to the machine. Hey, Larry P., you think you know more about construction than I do? How about I wager you $100,000? You don't. I'm telling people that they're 2x4. Okay, you want to call them metal studs? That's what they call them here in the Philippines. That's what they call them here. And I am in the Philippines, so I'm using Philippines terminology. You want to compare notes with me? Google Michael Fazio's real job. I hold 11 federal and state licenses, and I could bury you with construction knowledge. Okay, Larry P., one more comment like that, and you are history. They call them 2x4s here. That's what they call them. That's what I call them, because I live in the Philippines. I got to tell you, the trolls, they think they know what they're talking about. Okay, so now we move on to, let's just talk about stucco. They will mix up some stucco, and they'll put stucco on the wall with a 6-inch spade trowel. That's like a 6-inch pointed trowel. They hold it on a piece of wood, not a hawk. They don't hold it. They don't fill up. They don't have metal hawks here like you'd have for drywall. And of course they have. I use the same 18-inch hawk for my drywall as I do for my stucco. But if on the finish coat of drywall, of course you use an 8-inch hawk. But they don't have hawks here, and they don't make a hawk out of a piece of plywood and a 2x2. So they'll take a wall that's in the sun and that already has a wall temperature of 130 degrees, and they'll take a dry mix of stucco and smack it on the wall. Okay, there's no adhesion quality. Nothing. The adhesion is probably 30% of what it normally would be if you wet the wall down first. Just take a brush and wet it down. I use a hose, but they don't do that here. In addition to not wetting the wall down when they're doing stucco, they don't add anything like Acryl 60 or some sort of bonding agent to the cement mix. So they'll put a dry or normal stucco mix on the wall, on a dry wall that's 135 degrees from the temperature of the sun. And this is normal. Now, it's not going to last as long as if you wet the wall down, it's not going to have the same adhesion probably. But if you tell them to just wet the wall down first, it will stick better, they will not do that. They do not take instructions from foreigners. And in the case of Mai and his hostel that he's building, they will not take instructions from Mai. Now, on the building that they were building in Alona Beach, in my first apartment, somebody didn't use a plumb line, and the building went off 2 inches. The beam box for the roof, so you have a 3rd floor deck and you have a beam box on the roof. The beam box was somehow moved inside the footprint of the deck of the 3rd floor, about 1 3/4 inches on the far corner. How it happened, I don't know. So in the front of the building, it was vertical and plumb to the deck, and in the back of the building, it was in about 1 3/4 inches. These men put 1 3/4 inches of stucco on each day they got up on the scaffolding and plopped another coat of stucco to build it up to 1 3/4 inches with no wire. And the sun was on that side of the building every time they worked. Now, I went by the building a few months ago, and there were no cracks, but this is what they do. And they didn't pre-wet the wall down when they were putting on their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th coats. They just put a layer on every day, and they ran strings. They run these like a jet line across where it's supposed to be. And when it gets to the jet line, they float it to the jet line. The jet line is a very, very thin piece of monofilament. Okay, this is normal. Now, so they put the 2-inch stucco on with no wire. Now, as far as mortar joints are concerned, mortar joints, I think I have a video up that I can show you. I thought I had it up. Some of the mortar joints here are 2 inches. And I'm talking about a 2-inch mortar joint. And I've seen 3- and 4-inch mortar joints where they started the foundation lay of blocks on a sloped surface, and then they laid 2 or 3 courses of blocks, and then like at the 4th block up, 5th block up, they'll level it all out in one course. Somebody will run a level line across it, and they'll just so it'll be like a 3/4 inch, and they do 3/4 inch mortar joints. It'd be 3/4 inch mortar joint on one side, and it would be a 3-inch mortar joint on the other. Now, I know how I can find that. Okay, I know how I can find that video. Someone made a comment this morning about that video. So let me find, I'm going to just find that. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. It doesn't seem... Maybe that was yesterday morning. Anyway, they'll do a 3-inch mortar joint, and they have no qualms whatsoever that that's okay. So that's something that you should understand. And in the video, I wish I should have, you just have to take my word for it. So they do a 3-inch mortar joint. Now, when I was talking about bringing up those 2x4s, which are 2x4 metal studs, okay, but that's what they call them here. They don't have the terminology. They don't use the terminology here. Okay, Aussie Outlaw. Well, let's meet in Alona Beach if that's what you're insinuating about. Let's meet in Alona Beach. We'll make some videos together. That'd be fun. So the same fellas that were bringing up those 2x4s or metal studs, in one morning, one man on the 3rd floor, one man on the ground floor, and I know you're not going to believe this, but in one morning, 6 cement blocks. And the cement block here is a 4-inch block wide, 4 inches wide, 8 inches high, and 16 inches long. 6 blocks in the morning and 6 blocks in the afternoon. It took 22 days to put 250 cement blocks up to the 3rd floor, and those 2 men were the designated material bringer-uppers for the cement blocks. It took more than 20 days to bring 250 cement blocks up a wagon wheel to the 3rd floor. 6 in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, and that went on for the whole pile. And the owner of the property came, he saw what was going on, and didn't say a word to the men, because the men, one of them was the foreman's friend, and the other one was the foreman's son. Hello, Mercury, welcome to the machine. The other one was the foreman's son, and that was kind of what we call a featherbed job in America. You give it to your best friend and your son, and no one said a word, including the owner of the property, who was paying the men on a daily basis, because if he would have said something and there would have been an argument ensued afterwards, all the men on the job would walk off the job, because the foreman was in charge of the job. And that's the way it works here. And if you think I'm kidding, when you get here, unless in my contract it's stipulated I run the job. Doesn't matter what the men want. I run the job. I make sure that the materials are placed in the same place, in a material area. I make sure that there's no debris on the site. I make sure at the end of the day there's a cleanup. There is no such thing, no such animal as a cleanup here in the Philippines at the end of the day. They throw the garbage on the ground and they leave it there. Oh, I'll get to that in a minute, Aussie Outlaw. I'll tell you how many blocks they lay in a day. That's another story in and of itself. And they just throw the concrete debris, the wood debris, the empty bag debris, the plastic, the food lunch debris. They just throw it on the floor. They don't even throw it in the corner. Okay, so now, Aussie Outlaw, that was one of my next comments. How many blocks do they lay in a day? 2 men mixing and laying block in one day will do 40 4-inch by 8-inch by 16 blocks in a 10-hour day. 40 blocks. In America, my concrete man, J&B Mason, in Howard Beach, Queens, J&B Mason could do 125 blocks in an hour and a half. 3 men, though. The father, the son, and one Polish man mixing. They could do 125 blocks. They could do about 80 blocks in an hour, no problem, and do 500 blocks in a day, 8-inch blocks. And they were the fastest block layers I ever saw. Now, granted, there was a one-man mixing, a perfect mortar mix. They had mortar pans on the job. They had an electric ladder to bring the mortar up to the second or the third floor, but these guys were good. 50 blocks an hour, they could breeze through 50 blocks an hour. They could do 100 bricks an hour, red bricks, but they could lay out 125 cement blocks in an hour if they were hustling. Now, they couldn't do that all day, and they didn't do it all day, but they charged $1 per block, and you bought the materials. And so they would do 500 blocks in a day, and they'd go home. So they were making $500 a day in 1978, 79. That's when I did a lot of pool jobs, and they would work. Bounty hunter, featherbed job is what you give to your family, that they come to the job and they just basically show up and get paid for the day. It's a union term. Like a union delegate's son will be an engineer on a job. He checks the oil in the machine in the morning, and then he shuts the machine off at lunch. And then at 1 o'clock, he checks the oil, and then he starts the machine up, and then he disappears. He's supposed to be on the job at all times, monitoring the oil gauges and fuel. And he'll fuel up the machine at 6:30 in the morning, and then check the oil, start the machine, and he disappears till lunchtime. It's called a featherbed job. You don't do any work, but you get paid. As a union guy, they were getting paid $1,600 a week. Good question, featherbed job. To me, that's just a normal term. Thanks for the question. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about, so these guys will do 44-inch blocks a day. Lentils. They don't use lentils over the windowsills unless they're more than 5 feet. What they'll do is they'll put a 2x4 up against at the top of where the windowsill is, and they'll lay 3 inches of mud on top of the 2x4, and they'll set their first course of blocks into that mud. And then they fill the block up, and that is the lentil. They don't use metal lentils, and they don't use concrete lentils. Now, a lentil, in case anybody doesn't know, it's a board, it's a steel L-shaped bracket, one on the inside of the block and one on the outside, and they put that at the top of the window, and then you lay your course of blocks on top of that metal frame. That keeps the blocks from sagging downward forever. Typically, they're painted with 1 coat of red lead, or they'll take a concrete beam box prefabricated that they make on the job, or they don't make on the job. You can buy them. Not here, you can't buy them. Here, they make it on the job. And they'll put like 4 pieces of 1/2-inch rebar in a 4.5 or 5-inch high piece of concrete, the length of the window plus 6 inches on either side. And that will be what is called the lentil. They don't use lentils here. I've never seen a lentil used on any job except on Chinese construction sites. They use lentils. They use prefabricated lentils that there's somebody on the ground making the lentils for the windowsills as they come into play. Materials. They'll put the materials down anywhere off the truck that they come from. They will not organize the materials in one area in the back. So you'll be walking over materials at all times, and there's no count on the materials. No one knows how many materials there are. Even though it would be easy enough to make a count, the foreman won't do that. He'll just wait till he runs out, and then they'll do a rough count of what they need more. Very rarely will you ever see a Filipino construction site where the materials are ordered before they need the materials. What they'll do is they'll run out of materials, and then they'll order the materials, and in the meantime, they'll do a different job. Now, I want to go back to stucco for a minute. The stucco and mortar, as they need it, is mixed on the concrete deck, on a finished concrete deck, not a helicopter finish, but a trowel finished deck. If they're working in the front corner of the room, they'll make a pile of mud a few feet off the wall and a few feet away from where they're working. As they move over to the right, they'll make another pile of mud on the concrete deck. They don't have mortar pans here. There is no such thing as a mortar pan. No one has ever seen a hoe. There is no such thing as a hoe. The material gets mixed on the concrete deck with a round shovel. I'm not kidding you. Two guys with a round shovel, and then they make it what we call soup with a 70-inch slope. Standard procedure for if they're filling up the blocks, that would probably be okay because it falls down into the holes a little better. But if they're building a concrete deck, which we'll get into in a minute, they'll make the concrete where when they dump one bucket of mud out onto the ground in order to put it in buckets to bring it up to the third floor, the one bucket of mud will just disperse over 60 inches. It's just water. It's water. You can look at the recent video I put up about construction jobs in the Philippines, and you'll see it happen in real life. Now, what I would do, once I got one section of the deck complete on the third floor, or even before that, I would take 10 sheets of plywood, bring the material up to the third floor. I'd bring the cement mixer up to the third floor, and I would mix the material on the third floor and then dump it into a big mortar pan or trough. No, they don't do that. They don't do that. They mix the mud on the ground floor with an earth berm, and they put, I'll show you. This I got to show you. This is just, oh, you guys are going to have to wait a minute. I'm going to have to find that video. So you guys chit-chat amongst yourselves. Bounty Hunter, take a fucking walk. You don't know the difference between a round and a square shovel. You shouldn't be on a contracting video. All right. Let's go to my videos. All right, we're going to have to get to my video section. All right, let's just go. I'm going to show you something that's just going to amaze you. I did a video in June with Daisy May. It's a construction video. And they mixed the cement to such a wet, I mean, it was just basically water and cement, some cement in the water. It wasn't, all right, here we are. It's called Hot Filipina in the Philippines. Hot Filipina heavy equipment operators in the Philippines. All right. So let me get to the link. I'm going to show you how sloppy the mix is. You won't believe it, but it is the truth. And you're going to see it in real life. And then I'm going to tell you about this cement mixer that was on the job. All right, so here we are. I just got to get this, all right. Yeah, all right, so this is a cement mixer. It's got a gasoline engine on it. All right, and now I'm going to start the video. I have the sound off. I'm going to start the video. This is my video. And this is how they put the material in the cement mixer. They put it in bags. They don't put a pile of sand and shovel it in. Me personally, I would prefer to have it, the materials next to the cement mixer and do, 12 or 20 or 30 shovels, whatever it is. I'm going to move it forward a little bit. And I'm going to show you how wet this mix is. Okay, so this guy's looking for the water now. and it's already soup. It's already what we call soup. Way too much water in that for a concrete deck mix. And this guy just comes along and puts in, that doesn't seem like a lot of water, but that turned it into Campbell's chicken soup in a cement mixer. Now watch this material come out. Now, they don't have a metal trough. So each time they dump cement into this hole, at the end of the day, they let it dry. So right here is about 6 or 7 inches of a trough. And this was an earth berm, but now it's a concrete berm. So watch how this cement comes out of this cement mixer. Okay, I'm going to let you look at that again because no one would believe it. This is standard here. You don't understand. What I'm showing you is a standard way to mix concrete. And that's for the deck that they're putting on the second floor. You can see the deck is not there. That's going into a deck or that one's going into a vertical column. That one's going into a vertical column. And now this is how they get the material out of that concrete trough. Now they're going to come along with some buckets. There are the buckets. And they're going to start bucketing it out. It's just water with cement in it. There's nothing. I don't know. Yeah, that's how they get it out, with buckets. They just push it in with a shovel. All right, that's what they do. Anybody that knows concrete knows that what just happened is not supposed to happen. So let me go to my comments section. We'll see if we're still being trolled here. Don't know the difference between a square shovel and a round shovel. What is the clickbait title? I'm going to talk. No, I talked about my hotel already. So I'll go over it again. It's not a clickbait title. Right now, the plans are in Tagbilaran, and I have to wait until November 2nd to, that's when the price is going to be built up. And then after I get a price from a particular contractor, I will be running the job. I will be in charge of the job. And that is in the contract. And I've worked with Keith. Keith is the name of the contractor that I'm probably going to give the bid to. I've worked with Keith for about 6 years now, and his men and I have a good working rapport. They will do what I ask them to do when I ask them to do it, because I asked them to do it. But either way, I will be in charge of the where and how the materials are laid out and how the materials are stored. Because what these fellows will do is they'll put it in they'll go get a bag of 30-penny nails in a plastic bag, and they'll use 10 or 15 of the nails that they need. They'll put the plastic bag down on the floor. Then they'll put a piece of plywood over the plastic bag so it doesn't rain on the nails. Then they'll forget that the nails are there. Then they have to go buy nails again a few days later. So RC Outlaw, please tell me what the clickbait part of it is, and I will try to correct that. Laughing my ass off. I guess you're laughing about the way they mixed concrete. Bounty Hunter, you're right. You get what you pay for. Real professional workers cost 3 times more, plus benefits and medical. But not here in the Philippines, dude. In the Philippines here, $10 a day is more than reasonable considering the cost of housing for the men that live here. They only pay $20 a month for a 15 by 15 foot bamboo shack that they live in. This is what it is here. It's not, you're not talking about union wages. but it doesn't matter. Oh, clickbait on the title of the video that I mentioned. I don't remember the name of the video. Let me go take a look. Oh, that's not clickbait. Hot Filipinas? No, that's not clickbait. I'll show you. Daisy was operating the machine. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah. Hold on a minute. That Daisy was actually operating the machine here. I wouldn't lie to you about that. I don't do clickbait titles. In fact, when someone does a clickbait title, I don't watch their videos anymore. One maybe. So, okay, here is Daisy operating the machine. She actually got quite good at digging dirt. Digging this rock, though, was the hardest rock. It's about the hardest coral I've ever come across. I call it ancient coral, but once coral is dry for a few thousand years, it gets very hard. It almost turns into a different type of substance. And here she is digging. It just scratches the surface. You could take a full 20-ton, put down 17 tons of breakout force on that coral, and you're only going to come up with, you won't come up with a half a liter of dust for every stroke. It's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. They did not want to hire get a jackhammer for the job, so they got what they paid for. Here, it was worthwhile, but they did in fact request no jackhammer on the job. Why, I don't know. They wanted a machine without a jackhammer. So the owner of the machine, he doesn't care whether he gets the jackhammer on the job or not. And in fact, the first couple of feet was dirt, as you can see there. The first 2 feet, 30 inches was just dirt. And I think he thought that that's what it was going to be. But once he put the machine there, he wasn't going to put another machine with a jackhammer on it. If he had one, it went out someplace else. And if he didn't have it, if he did have one, he wasn't going to give it to them, because that's what they asked for. I don't have anything to do with that part of the job. So Daisy is operating the machine now, as you can see. So we don't do clickbait videos here. That was at the end of the video. Philippines teaches province life and adventures. Hello, Sir Mike. You are correct. Our building standards are subpar. So this woman, now, if you're very interested in some of the local, if you're really interested in some of the local happenings, and especially schools, if you have children here, Philippines Teacher and Philippine Teachers Province and Life and Adventures is a channel of a woman school teacher that does videos of the local phenomena, whatever that is. Could be a local school event, a ball event. I would ask you to go subscribe to her channel if you're interested in the way the local people do things. So she says, you are correct. Our building methods are subpar. Filipinos are stubborn and rarely listen to sound advice. It is unfortunate, but part of the problem with progress in my nation. See, now here is an intelligent woman that understands that when a person like myself, who holds 11 federal and state licenses and has been a licensed contractor since 1976. I have held a general contractor's license since 1976. They won't take my advice, even how to pull out nails. So we're going to go to this lady's channel, and I'm going to, by going to her channel, what you do is you click these three dots next to the lady's name, and you press go to channel. And we're going to go there. I want to show you what her channel looks like. And I would ask you if you're interested in the local cuisine, such as touring a pineapple plantation or a trip to Filipino teachers or an uke store, okay? She has local venue videos. Philippines teachers, province, and life adventures. So this woman agrees with me that Filipinos don't listen to advice. Now, I'm going to tell you something. If I give somebody advice on my job, it's not really advice. I just say it nice. It's actually an order, and I expect it to be carried out. So when I tell you that I will explain to somebody that use the crowbar. Now, we're talking about a job. This job here, this is only in June. I explained to them that instead of working on the ground on your knees, and I have videos to that effect showing you how they are working in a squatting position or kneeling down position, pulling out 30 penny nails with a 16-ounce claw hammer. Well, they don't even have claw hammers here. It's like a plumb hammer. It's a round claw hammer. And I tell them, there's a crowbar over there. Why don't you use the crowbar? No, this is how we do it here. No. They just say no. I mean, a 24-inch crowbar is going to pull a nail out better than a 16-ounce framing hammer. They will take 15 minutes to take one nail out because they're monkeying. It's like a barrel of monkeys. They got the wood on the ground and they're trying to pull the nail out. I have videos of all of this stuff up on my channel, but they will not use the crowbar. They'll use the crowbar sometimes if it suits their needs and there's no other way, like to pull a form off of the wooden form that they make that fake lentil over the windowsill. They don't taper the forms at the end of where the bricks are. They'll just put the forms up to the bricks. And then they'll stucco. Somebody will have extra stucco and they'll stucco up to the bottom of the form. And then when they want to take the form out, they need a crowbar to bow the form down. Or they have to cut the form and drop it down in two pieces. They'll use the crowbar when that's a last resort. But they won't use a crowbar to take nails out. They will not build a workbench. They will not build a workbench. They will not build a 30-inch high workbench to put the wood on top, put a lock on top of the board, slide the board into the lock, the dog, and then pull the nail out so they could do it by themselves. They'll do it for 15 minutes to take one nail out, and I'm not lying to you. Most nails come out in under 2 minutes. But if you built a workbench 30 inches high and put a dog on it, or a slip-in dog, and put the board in the dog and you could pull out the nail by yourself in 30 seconds, finished. They will not build the workbench. There is no workbench on any job in the Philippines, ever. Doesn't happen. They don't use workbenches. When they have to lay the plans out, there is no table for the plans to go on. They just drape them over a pile of concrete blocks. If it's not raining, if it's raining, you can't look at the forms. No, there will not be a bar in my hotel. Absolutely not. I will not. No. I am very much diametrically opposed to drinking. I operated heavy equipment my whole life, and I never cared much for drinking. Okay, so I I might have a store. I have another piece of property that I probably will put a sari store in. Um, and there'll be alcohol sales from the sari store. And there'll be a tables, of course, in front of the hotel, but I won't have a bar. No, we're not going to do that. But that's a good question. I don't actually like to get involved with people once they start drinking. I have an aversion to people that drink a lot of bakako, a lot of lies, a lot of nonsense. People become somebody they become people that they want to be or think they are, or they want to be tough guys and all of that. I don't deal with that so well. So there won't be a bar, but it's you know what? Until you asked that question just now, the idea of having a bar in the hotel, it never, ever, ever, it never crossed my mind, ever. Philippines Life and Adventures, they feel that if they have to be informed or corrected on anything, their knowledge and expertise is challenged and they feel embarrassed. Okay, so now you understand why I suggest you go to this woman's channel. She's a truthful individual. She is saying to you right now what no other Filipino will admit to unless they are educated Filipinos. And then they understand that what this woman just explained. Please tell me your name. I forgot your name, Philippines teachers. I apologize. What she is saying, they feel that they feel that if they have to be informed or corrected on anything, whether it's a construction site or how to set up a store, or that they should have change in the cash register before the store opens up, if you correct them on anything, they feel that their knowledge and expertise is challenged and they feel embarrassed and inferior. I had to call the manager in BQ Mall. They have 26 cash registers there, and no one. Now I walked in the store. I grabbed 3 kilos of pork. And they were just giant pieces of pork. There were 3 of them. I grabbed 3 of them. I walked in the store at 8:31, and I had the lady put 3 pieces of pork in the bag, and I was at the cash register by 8:35. No one was set up. No cash registers were set up. None. Zero. And this is already 8:35, and the store opened up at 8:30. I waited about 7 minutes for the cash register to open up. I thought that was a ridiculous amount of time. And when I said to the manager, why isn't the cash register ready to be open at 8:30? No, sir. She just said, no, sir. No, sir. That was her answer. No, sir. She knew what I said. She understood English. No, sir. You can't. If you open a store at 8:30, that means the cash register should have their change in the box already, in the drawer. They don't do it like that here. 8:40, 8:45, the cash registers are ready to do business. So you could sit there. I sat there for 7 or 8 minutes. And when I said, why isn't the money in the drawer already? No, sir. That was the answer. No, sir. There was no reason. There was no logic. She just said, no, sir. And she stood there and looked at me like I was stupid. Okay, so Philippines teacher is going to give me her name, but this is a very rare individual that will admit that this is the way it is here. They feel that if they have to be informed or corrected on anything, their knowledge and expertise is challenged, and they feel embarrassed and inferior. There are several Mexican food places in Alona Beach. Okay, Michael Shannon asks an intelligent question. Alona Beach is only about 450 feet long, the stores, and there's probably two Mexican food places that I could think of. One of them is buried in the back of a very long alley. It's right across the street, directly across the street from McDonald's. But I'll get to that with you when you get here. If we meet on the first day, you can ask questions about Alona Beach, and I'll tell you where everything is. And now, Michael Shannon says, why not secure the building to the coral? It has been there for thousands of years. Okay, so that's what we do here. And I hear when on my property, it's coral. There's no dirt on top of the coral. The footings had to be minimum 1.5 meters square. I made them 2 meters square, so they're like 6 foot and change square. The bottom of the footing, the footprint of the footing, is a 1/2 meter thick, and that's poured directly onto the coral, and it's inside a 6 foot by 6 foot coral hole. So a 1/2 meter of coral, a 1/2 meter thick of concrete is locking into the coral walls. That is the best way to do that. And the concrete will be poured, and the vertical column will be poured at the same time as the footprint of the column is going to be poured. So it'll be one contiguous pour, 1/2 meter of concrete. The vertical column is 18 by 18. That will be suspended off ground level and vertical. And once the concrete foot is filled up, then the column will be filled up to about, well, in this case, the column is going to be filled up the 2 meters deep, and then 3.5 meters further. The floors in my hotel are not 8-foot floors. They are 3.2 meters between decks. So the first floor deck starts up 34 inches off ground level, because I want it up higher. So because mosquitoes mosquitoes very rarely will go up higher than 10 feet. Now, the first floor won't be 10 feet off the ground, but there's not a lot of mosquitoes here. But the second floor will be a minimum of 12 feet off the ground. At 12 feet off the ground, a mosquito very rarely flies 10 feet off the ground. They just don't do it. Doesn't matter. The wind will waft them up onto the second floor, but they'll be a lot less problematic with mosquitoes. If the deck is 12 feet from the ground floor, chances are you won't ever see a mosquito on the second floor unless the wind wafts it up. That's one of my reasons, but I also want high ceilings. So that's a good question. The concrete is embedded into the existing coral. Good question. Okay. All right, Philippines teacher. Okay. All right, so we have, let's see. Philippines. Rachel. Hello, Rachel. I apologize. To be honest, Rachel, I don't watch a lot of other people's videos, but I really do appreciate you coming here. And I would seriously, I don't do local venues like Rachel does. Plus, I don't speak the language. And Rachel is an up-and-coming YouTuber who's putting out 2 or 3 videos a day sometimes on the culture of the Philippines. So by all means, please subscribe to Rachel's channel and see what knowledge you can gain from the Philippines, because she's a local, no doubt about that. And she's a school teacher, and school teachers hold a very special place in my heart. Welcome to the machine, Scott. Yeah, we're never gonna get with all the people that are flagging my channel, that'll end soon though. He doesn't understand, but it's going to end soon. with all the people that are flagging my channel, they're probably not sending out notifications, even if you have the bell subscribed. A lot of people don't like what I do on YouTube, and there's not much I can do about it. But a lot has to do with flagging. You start flagging somebody's channel, they start getting less people, notifications don't go out. And that guy who I call the prophylactic, that's filled right to the brim, he talk about digging holes. Talk about digging holes. He's dug a hole for himself. He's not going to be able to dig his way out of this one. That's right. So flag away. Flag away. Have a nice day. Well, Aussie, you explain that to the teacher, and I think I've seen 2 or 3 different. No, that's not necessarily true. There's a couple of other channels that pump out 2 or 3 videos a day, and one of them got it. Geez, I don't know how many, 60,000 subscribers in less than a year. So it depends on what you're putting out. She's putting out very benign material about the Philippines and just local stuff. So her channel can grow at that rate. I've seen another Philippines blogger, Village People Philippines. I don't know where they are. I don't watch their videos, but I did see that channel grow faster than I've ever seen a channel grow on YouTube. Okay, they have 50, Village People Philippines has 50,000 subscribers, and they've only had a channel up for about 15 months. And they're putting out 2, 3, 4 videos. This one is 10 hours ago, 10 hours ago, 11 hours ago, 22 hours ago. So that's 4 videos in one day, in one 24-hour period. Now, I don't watch their videos, but when I do, they're good videos. But I don't need to know where to buy something like vinyl carpet prices in the Philippines. And those prices are arbitrary because they change from island to island. But she does put out vinyl prices and carpets in Cebu. So those prices adhere to the Philippines. Hollow block machines, they're $2,300. I already know the price of a hollow block machine and how much trucks cost and cabinets. But for people that are not in the Philippines, Village People Philippines is a great channel, a great resource to go to. She has videos on basically the cost of everything involved with construction materials. Okay, Aussie Outlaw says, I checked, she's doing 1 a week. I don't know why I got 2 or 3 notifications of her videos the other day, but thanks for checking that out, Aussie Outlaw. At least it is the season for fresh crab meat next couple of weeks. Yeah, this is the crabbing season, no doubt about that. Hope you enjoy your meal, Scott. Mercury saying hello to Scott. Scott saying hello to Mercury. John Boone Bean says he's not getting the notifications till 30 minutes after. That's why I normally do a quick 2-minute video. I didn't do that today. I was outside chit-chatting with some of the neighbors, and I was on Roberto's show that he didn't show up. I was going to postpone my show so that people could watch Roberto's show because Roberto. I like the way he rattles people's cage. I like that. So I wanted to see that show too, but he didn't show up, so I did a show. Philippines Teachers, Province Life and Adventures. Thank you very much. Philippines Teachers, Province Life and Adventures is going to come and stay at the hotel. That'd be great. I look forward to meeting you. And also Clark and his wife. Clark Henderson is a the head of some sort of agency, I won't say what, in a hospital. And I think he's in charge of maybe the whole hospital or some section of the hospital. And he is directly related to Philippines teachers, province, and life, either as friends or family. I don't know how that worked out. But Clark asked me to do a shout out video for Rachel, and I was more than happy to do so. Hopefully she got some subscribers. Scott says, all good. I was watching Roberto for a while as he was playing the dialogue of the oldest little one had with who's a molester. Oh God, hold on a minute. Oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Who's a molester? That's that oh God, that was too funny, that whole thing. Yeah, Roberto rattled his cage. There's no doubt about that. And well, he should. He rattles everybody else's cage. John, the need to change the bell for the pot, maybe that will help. No, what I didn't plan on doing a super chat Sunday today. I just wanted to do a live stream about an information video so that people that come here and think that they're going to change the way work is done here in the Philippines. Now, I explained to Aussie Outlaw and another gentleman that I am in charge of the job that I will be building the hotel. I am in charge. I'm not going to make any bones about it. It's written into the contract that I already presented to the contractor that I'm probably going to give the bid to. Now, he and I met last Friday before I took care of some other, that went at meet last week. He explained to me that he's building a 6-room something house, but 2 floors, and he's building something else in Ilona Beach, and he won't have his men available till late December or mid-January. So if I agree to the price that he comes up with, because he's changed the price considerably. It was one price. It went up 50% in the last 3 years, which is normal. And if he goes up much higher than that, well, I'll bring in a crew from Cebu that I've made videos about before. I'll bring a crew in from Cebu who will do it at a reasonable price, and I'll still be in charge of the job. That's already been worked out between me and the contractor, and I would be there to make sure no one makes a material list. Somebody has to do that. The foreman won't do it. The lead guy on the job won't even tell you when the materials are running out. The foreman on the job I showed you where the cement mixer was, he rolls in around 10 o'clock, disappears at 11:30, comes back at 1:15, and disappears at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And when I said to the foreman on that job, this is standard now. Don't make a mistake and think this is just a one-off. When I said to the foreman, after that video was made, the cement mixer was moved back outside to do work outside because they had to put the vertical columns in to hold up the deck on the second floor. So they had to move the cement mixer out of that area. Well, once they got the deck built and the rebar on the deck of the second floor, the cement mixer was just 20 feet away from the building. Why 20 feet? I don't know, but it was. And they were mixing the cement for the second floor deck in a hole they dug in the dirt. Not with the cement mixer, but the hole was near the cement mixer. And I said to the foreman, I don't want to say his name, but I said to the foreman, why are you mixing the cement in that hole by hand with shovels? The cement mixer is right there, just 18 inches away from the hole. And the answer was no gasoline. Why was I on that job? Well, I can't tell you why I was on the job, but I was on that job to do something. So I said, well, I'll give you the money for the gasoline. No. You cannot do that. I said, why? He goes, because I won't be able to reimburse you. I said, well, okay, that's a good reason. But it was only, you could fill up, it's only $5 a gallon. Not like, and I would be helping my friend Mai. Mai wouldn't give the guy the money for the gasoline, and he's the owner of the property. So they mixed the entire second floor deck, however many yards it was, 6 or 7 yards. They mixed it by hand in a hole 20 feet from the building. After they took the sand and gravel and moved it from 50 feet away in bags, they put the bags next to the hole, like they did next to the cement mixer. And then as they mixed the cement, they dumped the bags in. Putting the sand and the gravel next to the cement mixer and on top of plywood and shoveling it in. No, they wouldn't do that. They put it in bags. The cement and the sand was set about 50 feet away in piles. Then they put the sand and the cement in bags. They carried the bags over to the hole, and then they mixed the cement and sand in bags. And when the bags were empty, they brought the bags back 50 feet away to the cement and the sand and filled the bags up again. You tell me how you can get something done without losing your mind here if you're not in charge. And Maya's just about losing his mind. Okay, so let's go. Oh, God. Here we're okay, it's time. Everybody that wants to be a troll, bust out your best troll, because it's time to allow the trolls to be loose on the channel. It's a free-for-all. I can see it coming up. Aussie Outlaw. I already have subscriber room monies. The members of my Patreon account, and there are many, half of the money that they donate and pledge to my Patreon account goes to room rentals. Now, 2 people have come here and didn't stay in Alona Beach, so I gave them money for the room rental. So, in fact, half the money that is pledged to my Patreon account goes to when the people come to the Philippines, and I will give them back half of their pledged monies towards room rentals, either in my hotel when it's done, or if my hotel is done, I will take half that money and get them a room down the block or a few blocks away. Because I can tell you right now that if you were to go online and look for a room in Alona Beach right now with a view of the ocean, you will not be able to get a room until March, April, or May of next year, depending on the hotel. There are no rooms available with ocean views. There's just none. And if you can, it's a one day here, one day there. You couldn't rent out a room in Alona Beach right now for 4 days with a view of the ocean. You could rent out a room with non-view of the ocean, close to the ocean, but anything with a view of the ocean is booked up through March, April, or May of next year. And they're considerable amount of money more than I would be charging. So it's a great idea, and that's why people pledge money to my Patreon account, because they know half the money is going towards a future room rental. So as I said, there are some trolls on the channel now, and it's time to let the trolls loose. So if you guys want to say something stupid that doesn't break YouTube's rules, now is the time. We're going to have open season on on whomever and whatever channel you like. Okay, so here we have Who's a Molester. Hey, Fazio, I'll solemn. Okay, I should a solemn alakum. A solemn okay. Who's a molester? Welcome to the machine. Okay. Who's a molester? Okay. We are being trolled. We are being trolled. This is not an actual Muslim name. Who's a molester? Don't even though he pretends to be one. But there is an idiot on YouTube that believes that Who's a Molester is a Muslim name, family name, and he's friends with Who's a Molester. So actually, the idiot on YouTube that thinks Who's a Molester is an actual Muslim name has befriended Who's a Molester. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So bust out your best troll and let's go. So Who's a Molester? May the blessings of Allah and the merciful peace be upon him, come upon your hotel project and your life. Salamat, Who's a Molester. We're thanking Who's a Molester for peace on earth. Bust out your best trolls. Now's the time. It's going to be open season on that fella, the idiot that believes Who's a Molester is an actual person. You gotta laugh about that. John Boone Bean, yeah, but just made a small joke about the bell. I did not think about the super chat out on the quick response on the pot. Yeah, if someone requests that I take out the pot, who am I to deny them the pot? But that's not what today's show's about. Today's show is just about, because I'm getting close to starting the project, I've been on several job sites. Everything I said is the truth. Everything. I didn't even exaggerate. In fact, I let a lot of people off the hook for some of the comments that I was going to make. I have a list of stuff here that goes on and on. I just said sand 50 feet from the cement mixer is where they dropped off the sand and gravel. That's true. Disappear to the portable CR, which is just a box with a hole in the ground. 20 minutes to take a crap. Does not matter, as Rachel explained. Philippines Life Adventure explained. Does not matter if you know how to do something. You are only a stupid foreigner. No one is going to listen to you. Even if you are the foreigner that's paying them, they won't take instructions. Like Frank Sinatra, they do it their way. LOL. Even if you are a foreigner that's paying them, they won't take instructions. Like Frank Sinatra, they do it their way. I'm not joking about this. And I'm telling you, it had to be written into the contract that I am in charge of the job. Now, how will I enforce that? I have my ways, but I will be telling people where to put the materials, and I will have a mortar box, a mortar pan, and I have 2 hose. They will not be mixing cement or mortar or anything in dirt holes in the ground or every 5 feet on the deck. It's just not going to happen. All the materials will be placed in metal cans or buckets or 1-gallon plastic containers. They will all be in the same place at the end of every day. There will be a count on materials for what's needed. Everything will be stacked neat. The floors will be broom swept. There will be no debris to walk over or around. Nothing. I got to find a video for you guys. I got to find this video. I'm going to show you a video that you just won't believe how the typical construction site is run. Okay, on every shovel, there's a pound or 2 pounds of concrete on every shovel in the Philippines. They'll start stuccoing an area and they'll run out of stucco and they'll leave it for a week and they'll come back and stucco next to it or the next day with a different mix from a different guy mixing the stucco. That's not acceptable. They use 6-inch spade trowels to plop it on the wall and then smooth it out with a 6-inch or an 8-inch spade instead of a 14-inch stucco trowel. They work in concrete in flip-flops, which you saw in that video. And if you didn't, I'll show it to you again. If you didn't see this, these guys are working in flip-flops. That's their water barrel. Oh, by the way, the water barrel is far away the hole where they're mixing the cement. Here you go. They have flip-flops on their feet. Hold on. Flip-flops. See, there's no shoes here on the bottom right here. They work in flip-flops. They'll stand in that puddle of cement and shovel it out in a few minutes. Flip-flops. No joke. That's what they wear. The men up on top of that scaffolding, flip-flops. The man operating the cement mixer, flip-flops. Flip-flops. And they stand in 6 inches of wet mud. I really got to find that video. Getting to work on time. Let's talk about that while we're here. They don't come to work on time. Okay, Philippines teachers, province, life, and adventures. Rachel, I'm averaging 1 and sometimes 2 videos a week. It's time consuming with my teaching being full-time and church obligations. I'm burning the candle at both ends. Well, it was my mistake to think you were doing 1 or 2 a day, but when I went to my subscriptions page, I guess I was mistaken because I saw 2 or 3 videos and probably they grouped them together and I just was tired and put them together as the same day upload. So that's, according to Aussie Outlaw, that's a good way to do it. And you might be right about that. I don't really know. I myself put out about 2 or 3 videos a week. For me, that's enough. Okay, here we are. We're back to trolling. You guys get out your best troll account or troll from your account. Oh boy, I really am not good at foreign languages, even Philippines language. Let me get. Okay, so let me see if I can bring it. I'm having trouble with my. Okay, first thing I got to do is I got to find that video. There's a video I want you to see of a construction site in the Philippines. You won't believe it. You're just not going to believe that it's even possible. And I'm going to show it to you anyway. First thing I got to do is get out of this new garbage that they call beta. It's actual garbage. And then I'm going to find the video. I'm going to show you the most horrific construction site on the planet. I'm going to show it to you. Okay? And I'm not going to show it to you here because this damn beta site. I hate this beta site. And you guys get out your best trolling accounts because it's time for you to guys. It's time for you. What is going on here? This is why this beta studio is such garbage. It's such garbage. They know I just requested to go back to Classic, and they accepted my request. And then they sent me back to beta. Here we are now after 45 seconds. All right. I'm going to put in construction. I'm going to try the word construction on my, I'm glad I didn't turn this around. There are some videos on here in places I made videos of that I really don't want people to see. I'm glad I didn't turn it around to let you guys look at this. Okay. I made some really crazy videos this week for my private friends only, as they already know. Just give me a moment, please. It should have shown up. I have so many videos with the word construction in it. You guys keep trolling. Be my guest. It's way back here somewhere. I'm back. It won't, and now it won't allow me to go more than one page at a time. Oh, I hate this. This new beta site is just terrible. All right. No, not yet. Oh, darn. I really wish that I should have done this before. It's my fault. It's my fault. My fault. One screen at a time, and it's making me wait like 30 seconds in between screens. Oh, all right. So you guys, I hope you guys are trolling me good. I'm going to get back to the comments in a minute. Now I press the button and it won't go to the next one. All right, I'll press it again. Nope, we're not even close. Not even close. Wow. Might not even have the word construction in it. It was a video I wouldn't dare put up. When I went through this construction site, the words that I used were just amazing. So I couldn't put the video up. Oh man, one freaking one page at a time. This is lovely. Thank you so much, YouTube. Thanks, Google, for screwing up a perfectly good system. You screwed up a perfectly good system. Thank you very much. Should have did this before. I know that you're thinking that, and you're right. I should have did it before. All right, it's the third one over. Fourth window over. Let me go check my comments, you guys, for the trolls. Scott Del Fuego. Mr. Molester, please be respectful and non-violent here on this channel. Wala akam asalam wa ramapala wala rabarakata. Yeah, that one I got right. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for asking for the respect. If I can get my new song done, I plan to post tomorrow. Very well. Now, Scott Del Fuego, he has a channel, and actually Scott Del Fuego has made in the past videos of the giant overflowing prophylactic in the Philippines. Michael Shannon, nothing but respect. Keep on keeping on. Thank you, Michael. I thought you were trolling me before, but I guess I was mistaken. I apologize. Who's a molester? Thank you, Mr. Scott del Fuego. We have respect for the strength and love for the people Mr. Fazio has. We have nothing negative. Thank you, Mr. Molester. Salamat. Who's a molester? Who's a molester? Okay, so Aussie Outlaw confirms my statement. Thank you. Michael, you are correct. I just booked accommodations today. Nothing available on the beach. Nothing. And nothing will be available. Now, there's nothing available. I was on Alona Beach about 2 weeks ago. I stopped in. I lived on Alona Beach for a couple of weeks before I found my apartment. And that was back in 2014, March. There was lots of rooms available then, and there weren't any hotels. Now they built 12,000 rooms in the last 3 years, and there's no rooms available on the beach. Well, maybe at some place like the Henan or at the Blue Water, but you're going to pay 8,000 pesos a day, $160 to $200 a day. Maybe you could get a view of the ocean there. All right, so I'm going to read a few more comments. I did catch a little bit of a cold this week on the jeepney. That's right, Scott. That's absolutely right. I'll get to that in a minute. Who's a molester? Mr. Fazio. My father is a Dutch Muslim who came to the southern provinces. Okay, well, so you live in Mindanao, yeah? Very nice. Thank you for coming by, Mr. Molester. Okay. Philippines Teachers, Province, Life and Adventure says, Mike, Dr. Henderson and his wife Amy are just friends. Okay, you're just friends. Amy is from Leyte and is also a teacher that used to attend the same church as me when she was teaching and taking her master's in education last year. Okay, so Dr. Henderson, Clark, I call him Clark Henderson, that's his name, and when he comes to my channel, are friends with Philippines Teachers Province. I know that Clark wrote me a letter when he asked me to give you a shout out, but it's not something I remember details to. If you tell me that I need 60 pieces of lumber, I'll remember it for 4 years. But if you tell me details about somebody I don't know, that kind of information doesn't stick. So thank you for telling us, explaining your relationship. Princess Anud lives in Leyte. In the part of Leyte, not much signal, the internet, the place, many mountain, they have very hard to connect to the internet. So Princess Anud is confirming Philippines Teachers Province Life and Adventures. Comment. Okay, Scott says the men here in the Philippines can stand in wet concrete long enough. I think he meant to say, if they can stand in wet concrete long enough, they will step out and only the bones of their foot will be left. Yes, that's because of the chemical reaction to the skin from the concrete. Philippine Teachers Province and Life Adventure says, back to church for me, everyone. Thank you all, and I will listen to the rest of this after church. Thank you for stopping by, Rachel. Say hello to Clark and Amy for me. All right. Mercury, Marami Salamat Philippines Teachers. Okay, that's a different dialect than I know. 40 years ago, cement was not as aggressive as I remember. Nowadays, chemical waste is processed into the concrete. Subsidy is given. So they're putting garbage in the concrete, which makes it even more toxic. John would know. John Boone Bean has a channel, and he I don't know if he has an engineer's degree, but he's probably smarter than most engineers. So John Boone Bean does have a channel if you want to see what it's like to live in another part of the world. Holland, I think you live in. Please tell everybody where you live, John, and why don't you give them a link to your channel, where they have the dikes and things like that. It's a really cool place where John Boone Bean lives, and he does some really cool videos about the canal systems there. And I would suggest his channel highly if you want to learn to see what it's like to live in Holland. And I am not having any luck finding this video. Cannot believe this. Well, I do believe it. It's only allowing me to go back one page at a time. Very, very, very disturbing. I should have had these videos up, but normally I can find a video in just a few seconds. I don't know why the video doesn't appear already. Nope. All right, I'll go back to the comments. John Boone Bean says, if waste can be used, if those Filipinos work with bare hands and feet in that concrete, it will burn their skin off, as I have already experienced in later years. Yeah, I am sure they put something in the concrete. They will mix anything in with anything else to get rid of any caustic chemical. Christian Bergwald with the question of the day. They don't have a cement pump and a winch. They don't have a cement pump, cement trough, and a winch to take the mixer to every floor. No, I explained that earlier, Christian. That's a fantastic concept. I would bring the mixer to the floor I was working on. Or, for my hotel, I'm going to buy a cement mixer with an automatic winch. And it's not much more expensive than a cement mixer by itself, just an extra $2,000. So for $3,000, you can, I'll show you the cement mixer that I'm looking at now. Hold on. La, 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 la. I had it up here last week. It's gone. I took it down. All right, I'm going to look for that video. Yeah, they don't have a cement mixer. I would raise the cement mixer to the floor, bring the materials up dry, and that's how I would do it. But no, they carry it up in buckets. They call it the bucket brigade. They think it's funny to have 25 people with buckets hauling it up from one man to the other. That's what they think is the way. That's how they think it should be done. That's how they do it. I don't believe this. I just don't believe this. We're getting close. We're getting close. It does have the word construction. Let me make sure. Construction site, anti-terrorist construction site. I don't know why that has that name. Hotel construction. Okay, here, let's just go. Let's open up this link in a different page. All right. And then I'll make sure I get the sound off it. And then we're going to play this video. You're not going to believe what you're going to see in this video. You're not going to believe this. This is a typical construction site in the Philippines. Okay, now we are on the 3rd floor of a construction site, and you can see, well, I'm gonna just play this video for a little bit. We're gonna walk through this construction site. This is part 1. Okay. All right, I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit. Okay, look at how they have this disaster they call a construction site. Look at this. They have rebar. They have 2x2s. They have 2x4s. They have a pile. This entire pile with this blue tarp was 15 bags of concrete, and the tarp blew off during a typhoon, and so now there are 15 bags of solid concrete cement. If that was I think that's the one. But look, they have plumbing over here in the back corner. Then they have a pile of dirt here. Then they have another pile of the same dirt over there. And they have a horse that they don't have anything on. And then they have a bucket of clamps, and the bucket has 5 inches of water in it. And the clamps, the pipe clamps are in 5 inches of water. It's been there for months at this point. Okay, they have the dirt on the floor next to the rebar. The rebar's in the dirt. The floor is wet. The rebar is rusting. Then they have scaffold pipes over here, and they have concrete forms under the scaffold pipe. Then we move forward a little bit, and I don't know what I'm doing there. Look at this. They have some 1/4-inch round wire next to the rebar that has concrete attached to it. The rebar is all rusty. The floor is wet, and you can see the green algae on the floor. And the rebar is rusty, and this rebar has green algae on it because it's been sitting there. And this rebar is rusted down several thousandths of an inch. Okay. The nails, this is a walkway, and this 2x3 has nails sticking out of the end of it. And this is where you walk. This is where you walk. This is you're walking into an area. Look, see all this debris on the floor here? There's rock here. There's concrete block here. There's some kind of wire here. There's pipe fittings over here. There's rebar here. Some of it's 3 inches off the floor. Some of it's in the puddle of water here. This is all a puddle of water. This is the deck where they're going to tile the floors, and this is the board with the nails sticking out of it. And you got to remember, these guys work in flip-flops. Now, yes, I have no shoes on, but I had left my shoes on downstairs to go on to this job. I didn't want to walk through the hallway with dirty feet, with dirt on my feet, because it had just rained. And this is what they're walking around right here. This nail, that's nothing. That's nothing at all. Nothing at all. Look at that nice nail where they have flip-flops on and shorts. That would rip you apart. And in fact, a few days later, a man did have his foot ripped apart from a nail. See my foot there? Okay. Look, see, that's just the right height to grab you just above the ankle. Okay, this is a typical construction site here. Do not make a mistake. All right, let's move on. This wire here, now, this is like a booby trap. In case somebody's trying to steal something, they have a trip wire here. I called it the trip wire in the video. Okay, let's go forward a little bit. All right. This pile of, pretty sure this is a pile of cement. When When I picked up the tarpaulin to see what was under there, all the bags of cement were hard as a rock. They were all garbage. This is a typical shovel with 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds of concrete on a typical shovel here in the Philippines. They do not clean the shovels at the end of the day. They just, in the morning, they bang off some of the concrete and they continue working like as if this is the way it's supposed to be. Okay, now they have dirt here, plumbing here, PVC pipe here, more dirt over there, concrete form here, concrete scaffolding parts here, concrete here. Now, all this rebar, look at this rebar. It's so rusted. It's been up there, the better part of a year in a puddle of water. And when I went back, the day I went back, I'm going to tell you, I saw them using that rebar. Now, what I'm also going to tell you is that when they were building the beam boxes on this job, and it's in one of these videos. It might even be in another video of the same title. When I came back to the job, they had beam boxes on the second floor, on the third floor to the roof beam boxes. And the rebar, the code for rebar in America is 3 times the thickness of the rebar. Okay, here, look, this is another work area here. Look, they have plywood with nails sticking up all over the place, wood with nails on it, wood just thrown over here, bags of sand or cement, rock, and then this is the floor. This is the concrete that leaked out of the vertical column here. It's the concrete that leaked out of the bottom. This is another area here. Look, they just have the wood crisscrossed over each other in a puddle of water because the floor was never leveled properly and the water flowed into the building rather than. Okay, what happened was the slope for the building to go from the hallway to the deck was put opposite. So the slope brought the water into the building instead of dropping it outside the building off the deck in some parts of the floor. That's why the water puddled up. So it should have been a contiguous slope for about, it should have been a contiguous slope for the whole deck, but it wasn't. It was up on one side and down on the other. Here's another little section of work area here. There is no work area. I could have combined all of this material into a 15 by 15 foot section and had a clean floor to work on. But look, they just throw a bag of rocks here, it's short 2x4 form. All these woods have nails in them. They just take the wood down from the forms and then they smash the nails flat down on the board. And then somebody will come, then they'll take the boards downstairs from the third floor. They'll throw them off the building. Then somebody on the ground floor will take the nails out. That'll be his job for a month. He'll stack them on the ground floor for about a month. That's where he's taking the nails out. And then they'll haul them back up to the third floor to do more beam boxes. Instead of just clearing out a spot on the third floor to take the nails out, they'll throw them off, clean up the boards, and then they'll bring the boards back up to the third floor. I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you, this is how it is here. Here's how they kept the bolts. Look, these bolts here were to bolt the forms together. These are also in puddles of water for almost a year. These rings, you can see how rusty they are where they touch the ground. This was a 2-inch puddle of water here, but it's dried out a little bit now. Okay, here's another. This is all a puddle of water here. Look, here is this bucket here of nails. This has 3 inches of water underneath the top of the nails, and the nails have rusted into one solid conglomerate. And these bolts were just left on the floor for a year, and to rust. Okay, here's the nails here. I got look at this. These were new nails. These were new nails, and they're all rusted up. If you think I'm kidding you, but I'm not kidding you. And look at this. Look at the rebar here. Look. This is now. You think that you see a garbage ruler. That is the ruler that they use for that job. I'm not lying to you. That's the ruler they use on that job right there. They just curled it up and put a piece of string around it and threw it next to the column. And when they go back to work, they're going to come back and use that ruler on the job. Look at this. Bolts, nails, rebar, concrete, nails, wood, plywood, 2x4s, 2x3s, rebar filled with concrete. This is a construction site in the Philippines, baby. I'm glad I found that video. Let's go back to the comments. I need to get water. Wow, it's taking a long time to load. I don't know why. Here we go. Okay. So we were at Christian Bergwald's great comment of the day, which is what I said. I would bring the cement mixer up to the second, third, and fourth floor. I wouldn't care what floor it was. I'd I'd walk it up as they built, or have an automatic lift. Excuse me for a minute. I need to get a bottle of water. I'm going to put this air con on. All right, so I'm back. That's a great idea. Bring the cement, and if I was building a building and they needed a cement mixer on the ground floor and the third floor, just go out and buy a secondary cement mixer and sell it when the job was done. You got to see the workbench I'm going to build next week, Scott. I got to get ready to start. Got to start getting ready to build. So I'm going to be building a 14-foot workbench, a real workbench. And as far as being on the beach, when you get here, wow, you said you might be coming late winter. You're going to have to let me know. I'll get your room on the, with a view of the beach, but I'm going to have to get that room. Like, if you tell me you're coming in March, I can probably get you a room with a view of the beach for March, not February and not January. I wouldn't even guarantee that. I mean, not close to where I live, but I will find you a room. But it's going to take a while. Even the internet is not going to give you what's available in full. Aussie Outlaw said he looked on the internet and he couldn't find one, and that's true. But there is one place who my friend owns the hotel that he rents the room out. He does not rent 1 or 2 rooms on the internet. He keeps those for the people that come to his bar to go drinking. So, but I have to go there in person and talk with Glenn himself to get the room, and then his wife, then he has to call his wife. She has to look on the calendar, but he does that over the bar usually. And somebody gets drunk or they want to stay for a day or a night. Sometimes he has a room that he'll rent to them for some exorbitant price, but they'll pay it. The Netherlands, Holland. Yeah, that's where John Boone Bean lives. He has one of the most interesting videos on his channel I've ever seen in my whole life. There's a canal, and over the canal is a giant trough, a U-shaped trough with 3 feet of water in it. And over the canal, boats navigate through the trough over the canal at a different height. It's an amazing video. It's on John Boone Bean's video. It's kind of like a causeway where you have a highway on the ground floor, and then you have a second level causeway 30 feet up or 10 feet up or whatever. But it's water, a water canal, and a water canal on top as the upper deck or roadway. Hold on. I hear the police. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so the police are outside. I thought maybe they wanted to ask me a question, but they're going to another location. There's a shitload of them. Huh. Try not to get involved with that stuff here. All right, so John Boone Bean. John Boone Bean is a very intelligent man. He's a builder. He knows how to fabricate stuff with metal. He's worked in nuclear power plants. He's not just a common worker. He's an actual intelligence type of engineer / builder. He does his own work, and he works for big companies. All right, so we have Simulacron. S. Simulacron. Welcome to the machine. Concrete goes back to the Roman days. Hasn't the basic formula remained constant? Pretty much, from my understanding. Just a couple of chemicals. Frank Rizzo, welcome to the machine. How are you today, Frank? We have, I asked people to troll my channel about a half an hour ago, and no one will. So I've been showing them a typical job site of a Philippines construction company that nobody will believe. I'm going to show you, Frank, just to let you know. I'm not kidding. Let me go back here a little bit. All right. This area here where my feet are was a 2-inch puddle. And in that 2-inch puddle, all these bolts, what's left of this ruler, it's been sitting there for about a year. Broken concrete, a container of nails that's filled with water, rusted nails, a bucket of nails with 3 inches of water in the bottom of the bucket, and the nails all conglomerated into one giant piece of rusted solid nail matter. Bags of sand, bags of concrete, rebar with concrete on it, rebar in the water without concrete on it, scaffolding pipes, rebar, wood, rotten wood, rusted bolts, and rusted nails, and blocks of concrete. Typical construction job in the Philippines. And it gets worse. Because as I was saying before, all of that rusted, look at this. This is all a big puddle. These bags have something in them, I don't know. But all the hoops and the nails and everything are just sitting in a pile of water. And then they have pipes going across here, wood on the floor, in a puddle of water. It's amazing. It's just amazing. Scott, you're right. On my construction job, there's a garbage pail, and the debris goes in the garbage pail right away. Nothing sits on the floor. Nothing, ever. It has a place on the bench. The garbage pail is right next to the power miter usually. And well, I could show you construction jobs of mine. Well, if you look at Michael Fazio's Real Jobs, you'll see how I run my construction jobs. Welcome to the machine. Dennis is here. Dennis Adam, the newest live streamer on YouTube, baby. Dennis Adams got that live stream bug. Let me go back and let me get another video. Well, let me see if I can find that video of the beam boxes that I was talking to you about. The beam box. All right, so here's how the code for concrete is. If a rebar is, let's say this is a number 4 rebar, 1/2 inch, and you're making hoops out of this. Well, or vertical. If you're going to put a wood frame next to this rebar, the wood cannot be less than 3 diameters of this rebar. So if this is 1/2 inch rebar, then the wood frame has to be 1.5 inches away from it. It keeps moisture from getting to the rebar and then blowing out the concrete. Anything closer than 3 diameters, 1, 2, 3, and they call that burning the rebar. Burning, B-U-R-N-I-G, burning the rebar. Because moisture is going to seep into the concrete. They estimate 1 inch, so they tell you to go 3 times the thickness of the rebar. That's one reason. The second reason is strength. On this job, every rebar in every column, in every beam box, in every wall, and every deck of every floor was burnt. They laid the deck for the 3rd floor, and they put the rebar on the wood deck. Instead of buying corrugated metal waffle sheets, they made a wood frame. They made a wood plywood deck, and then they put the rebar on the wood deck. And they didn't buy saddles. They didn't put saddles underneath it, and they didn't put blocks of brick underneath it. They didn't do nothing. And the day the concrete came, they were literally picking up the rebar while the concrete was being hauled up. Well, on that day, they had a pump truck. But while the concrete was being hauled up to the top with the pump truck, they were literally, the day the concrete got there, they were picking up the rebar and sticking anything they could underneath the rebar to get it up off the ground. And a few days later, when they pulled the wood forms out, I went to check the job. You could see rebar everywhere. Every beam box, every vertical column that partially was poured. you could see 1,000 feet of rusted rebar on a 75-foot building by 27-foot deep. 1,000 feet of rusted rebar, you could see. Every beam box, in the beam boxes, and I say all, I mean all, every single, let me see if I could find a part 4 to this thing. There is a part 4. I know I did it. In the beam box, for the roof, every single piece of rebar, every one, not 1, not 2, not 3, every beam box, all the hoops were sitting on the bottom of the beam box, and every hoop was visible when they took the plywood off the bottom of the beam box, every hoop. So what they did, you're not going to believe this, but I'm telling you the truth. What they did was they wire brushed the rebar down. Yes, they did. They wire brushed it down. And then they painted it with red lead paint. And then they stuccoed over it with like 1/4 of an inch of stucco. And just made like they stuccoed the beam box. They didn't add any Acryl 60 or anything like that into the stucco. I don't know if it ever bled through. I never saw the finished product. But that's what they did. I'm looking for the beam boxes now. I could show. I have a video of their beam boxes. I don't know where it is. I don't have a video of all the burnt. I do have a video of all the burnt rebar. I do have a video. Here it is, in fact. I think this is it. Yeah. Here it is. Okay, if you look above the scaffolding right there, right here, the scaffolding is running this way. That's a rebar. Over here is a rebar. Here's a rebar, a burned 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 rebar in the deck above here, a burned rebar in the deck, a burned rebar in the deck, a burned rebar in the deck, a burned rebar in the deck. Okay? I don't make this stuff up, folks. This is typical construction in the Philippines. Here we go. I'll show it to you again from a different angle. Every dark spot you see there is the rebar that sat in the bottom of the beam box. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22 burned rebars in the bottom of the beam box in an 8-foot section. 22, because here's the 8-foot plywood mark. And now you got rebar burning all the way across the top of the building. And that's nothing. There's a video I did of just the rebar being burned. I'm looking for that now. There's a reason I don't post this. Okay, here it is. Here's the roof deck that they poured. All of burn, and all the beam box rebar hoops are all burnt, every one of them. Every beam box hoop was sitting on the floor of the beam box. They didn't even have a saddle on the job. And I'm telling you, the pump truck came, and that's when as the pump truck poured the concrete, they were trying, there wasn't enough men. And as they were pouring the concrete, they were trying to pick the rebar up. They were shoving blocks of wood underneath it, underneath the rebar. And I was looking at them, I'm going, you shouldn't do that, because it's going to be a pain in the ass to get the wood out. So they took a concrete block, I'm trying to help, right? And they took a concrete block and they started using concrete block, pieces of concrete. instead of buying saddles, instead of making saddles, instead of building saddles, they had no saddles. Multi-million peso job, and they had not one saddle on the job. Every beam box was burnt. Every piece of rebar in every column was burnt. Till they stuck it over it, you could see it. I'm looking for a better shot. On one of the floors, I know in the video, the entire, no, I'm going to give up on that project. The entire floor was burned. Every rebar on a whole 15-foot by 15-foot section. They didn't lift the rebar up off the deck. And the entire 15 by 15-foot section had rebar sitting on the plywood when they poured the beams, and which gives it no strength. Plus, if it was America and it was inspected, they would just tell you to take it all apart and do it again. That's what they would do in America. John Boone Bean, have a good night's sleep, Dennis. Okay, Dennis is leaving. Mercury, the slump, I don't know. They have a 70-inch slump here. Usually it's a 12-inch slump or a 9-inch slump for if you're doing beam boxes or columns. Here they just pour it in like water. That's what they do here. Thanks, Scott. Thumbs up, everybody. I could look for a construction site job that I ran. It's mostly pictures, though. Let me find. I'll look for one of my construction sites. You know what I could do? I could just go to Google. I can Google Michael Fazio's real job. Michael Fazio's real job. Press enter, and you'll come to about 100 videos of my construction sites. This is not me. This is somebody that lived in Short Hills, New Jersey. Here is one of my construction sites, but I don't think that's a video. Yeah, everything is, all these wood pieces of wood here, they're all piled up neat. There's no wood on the deck, no wood, no nails, no nothing. The nail gun's up on top there. All right, so I'd have to go back here. Michael Fazio's real jobs. There's a video to that effect. I have lots of videos. You'd have to go through the Michael Fazio's real jobs. There's about 1,000 videos of New York, Florida, and everything from deck building, bulkhead building, to construction in the Philippines. All right, so probably not going to find it like this. Yeah, that's just not going to happen. Yep, not going to happen. I didn't prepare to show you that stuff. I didn't have, that wasn't on my mind when I got here. And this new Google platform, the beta, it's only allowing me to go back one page at a time. Instead of giving me, 6 pages where I could skip back 2 or 3 years at a time. Not letting me do that. This one is an interesting video. I'm going to open this video up and show you how they get the concrete up to the roof. Being that somebody asked, do they have a pump? Okay. No, they don't use pump trucks here. This is a city-run job that I'm going to show you. City of Alona Beach. And this is how they get the concrete. Now, this building is being built for the city. And these men are on a wooden platform. Now, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's going up 3 stories. We're on the ground floor here, first floor, second floor, and it's going up to the top of the beam boxes. Watch how they get the concrete up. That's a bucket of mud. Another bucket of mud. Going up. Bucket of mud going up. Bucket of mud. Bucket of mud going up. Bucket of mud. Bucket of mud going up. Bucket of mud. 3 floors. They'll do this for 4 or 5, 6 hours. And they'll fill up the columns. And then it's going up to the top and the beam boxes too. This one was going for beam boxes. So they're up to the 32 feet, 34 feet. They hump it up 34 feet while they're standing on wooden scaffolding. And this is a city-run, the City of Alona Beach run construction site video. And this building is built for the municipality of Alona Beach, by the municipality of Alona Beach. And this is how they work here. There goes the bucket back down. So first the buckets come up, and then the buckets go down. And on this job, I think there were 23 men in the bucket brigade. And after they were done, I was done shopping, and I came back and had some laughs with them on the job. And even till this day, the men on this job remember me because this video made them all famous. And now they're going to wait for the buckets to go back down. And then once the buckets are back down, somebody on the ground floor is going to fill them up again. And then they're going to start all over again with more buckets. That one is full. Okay, so they had a little backup there, backed up a little bit, and they're dumping it into a beam box up on top. Yep, here we go. If you don't think that builds your forearms up, that builds up every muscle on your body standing on that scaffolding. And this video, granted, this video was 5 years old, about 5 years old, but this is still how it's done today. They will not bring a pump truck, even on a city job. They will not bring a pump truck onto the job. They will do it by hand. It gives the men guapo, guapo, guapo. They're giving me the guapo. Yeah, they're giving me the guapo. Yeah, you're the guapo too, baby. He's guapo, everybody's guapo. These guys still remember me. They will say, hey, Michael, because they know me by Michael. They don't call me Rabbi. And trabajo, they will yell out, trabajo, trabajo. Because every one of them, they all gave the videos to their family and their friends and everything. Now, you got to remember, I'm on the construction site. I'm not doing this from the street. Not a lot of foreigners will walk onto a construction site in the Philippines. Okay? even though I'm on the ground floor. Later on, I went up to the second floor, which is where they were having lunch. It started raining immediately after that. And they invited me up to lunch, but I did not eat. Okay, I'm saying goodbye. All righty, there you have it. Let's see some of those other bloggers with the big mouths walk onto a construction site and spend a half an hour with the men. I'd like to see that. Yeah, it would be. My job sites are what I call sterile. I don't even allow one single piece of wood on the floor. There is somebody that is a designated. Their job is to do everything I ask them to do with a designation. They're designated cleanup. A piece of wood falls on the floor. Somebody's using a score. You go pick the wood up, put it in the garbage, put it in a pile, or throw it in a corner. I don't mind throwing it in a corner either. Just throw all the garbage in the corner, everything. Then at the end of the day, we can sort it out. But get it off the deck. I'm sure you believe me. So, good night, Dennis. Thanks for stopping by. So let's see this. Is Roberto's live stream on? Because actually I wanted to see that. Roberto rattled that guy's cage proper. Man after my own heart. Rattling people's cages. And rattling people's cages is what I said to somebody yesterday, and they were laughing their ass off. Not yesterday, yesterday. All right, Scott Del Fuego's college football team. The team I played for in college just posted the first 7-0 start since they won national championships in 1960. That's a lot of games to win in a row. And that's a long time. That's 59 years, dude. Scott. 1960, 2020. That's 59 years. And they didn't have 7 in a row, 7-0 at the beginning of the season. Wow. That's a big accomplishment, 7-0. When you're 7-0, you know that good things are going to happen. That's amazing, 7-0. That's the statistics against that are very high. You got to, on any given day, you could lose your best player. You could be playing the best team in the league, the one that's going to win the national championships in the third game, and they slaughter you. Got to have a whole bunch of things working in your favor for that to happen. Ranked 20 in the nation right now. We'll move up on Monday, I would imagine. 7-0, and they're ranked 20. I would think it would be closer to a lower number. Though I don't know much. But 20th in the nation, yeah, there's a lot of football teams. You're probably right. I mean, I'm probably mistaken. There's probably a lot of teams that are 7-0, or even 8-0, maybe this, depending on today's game. Mercury 3 gets music. Music. Thank you, Mercury. Salamat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mercury 3. Salamat. From Daisy May and Michael Fazio in the Philippines, baby. Thank you, Mercury. You know what I should do? Hold on a minute. Let me see if I get Daisy on Skype. I don't know if she has a load. Hold on. I got to open up Skype. Let me see if she's got Skype on today. She called me on Skype. Today is Sunday. I think we spoke Thursday afternoon on Skype. Do you look guapa, Princess N? Yes, you're always guapa, Princess Anud. Scott says only about 10 now. Some teams have a 7-0, but they are rebuilding a program. So they're putting their team back together, not going to be ranked with the Alabama and Clemson semi-pro teams. LOL. 7-0 is good no matter what your league is. I would imagine 7-0 is really damn good no matter what. And whatever your division is, 7-0 is a big thing. What was I doing here? I was going to. I was going to do something. Oh, I was looking for Daisy. I had to open up Skype, right? All right. Really slow. This partially it's slow because of the internet being slow, and partially it's slow. The computer is going on 7 years, and it's getting old. All right, we have one Daisy there. Okay. We're getting close. I got her name up on the screen. Now we just have to find out if she's available. Doesn't look like she's available. I actually I didn't know that I was doing a live stream. I'm going to try to get her to put a load in next week, and see if we could talk to her next week. Nope. May isn't online, so we tried. She did have a load Thursday, but she puts 50 peso loads in the phone, and they're good for unlimited everything for one day. So I apologize. And I'm going to close Skype because it takes a lot of energy from this little fella computer here. Okay, so Scott is explaining more about his college football program, and then, well, the team that followed after Scott. They are in the FBS top division. No secret. No Golden Gophers. Minnesota, Ski-U-Ma. I guess that's like a college thing. I don't know what any of that means, Scott. But they are in the FBS top division. No secret. No Golden Gophers. Minnesota, Ski-U-Ma. Whatever that means. Probably somebody out there knows what that means. I want to just I want to just go see if Roberto's still on. If he is, I'm going to end the stream. I'm pretty much done doing what I have to do here. I wanted to just show you people that work in the Philippines and living here in the Philippines and getting stuff done here in the Philippines. I didn't even go through my whole list. You know, I might go through 2 or 3 more things. Let me see if he's still on. He's still on. Let's see who's on here, though. No? Yeah, he's still going. Warren is on there. Let's go. Warren is Warren is on Roberto's live stream and talking. So let's say goodbye, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you very much for the super chat, Mercury and Gogo Bobo. Thank you. Let's go see what Warren's doing on Roberto's live stream. And remember, Roberto rattles people's cages. It's what he does and does well. Let's say goodbye, everybody. I want to go over and play with Roberto for a while. All right, everybody, thanks. Let's go see what they're doing. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Let's go see Roberto, the Brown American Expat channel. Our friend Warren is on there. And if I would have known Warren was on there, I would have wrapped this up a long time ago. Joe Blow, that's a wrap. Thank you very much for stopping by, Joe Blow. Brings a whole new meaning to life. Brings me back to the 1980s. Joe Blow had a whole different meaning at that time. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. God bless. And I'll see you over on Roberto's channel. Bye-bye for now. I'll leave the comment section open in case you want to. And I'm going to mute my microphone. Let's see how I do that. Let me mute the microphone. I'll leave the comment section open if you guys want to talk. Yeah.